Resume recording. Yeah. All right. Well, good morning, everyone. Welcome to Fridays with Phillip on a Thursday. It's Thursday because tomorrow is Good Friday and we are always closed on Good Friday. Hope you take the day and attend a service of your choice and remember what the point of Easter really is. Here we are, March 28th, the end of the first quarter of 2024. Wow. How did that happen? I really don't have any idea. It seems like the older I get, the faster the days go. But that's life, right? So we'll get started here. We've got a very important topic to cover. We have multiple hundreds of people on the call today. So pretty excited about that because this is an important topic. And when we get to it, we'll dive into it pretty deep. We've got a little bit of advertising to do here first, as we always do, to remind you of the programs and events that we have coming up here at Benchmark, because a lot of you are not reading your emails. First of all, we want to start off with Momentum Title, our partner in title. This exclusively for Benchmark. Just remember that your first closing is free, your personal home is free, your personal investment properties are 50% off. There is only one closing fee if they get both sides, and there is always a $500 credit for veterans and first responders. They've recently changed their orders email from processing to orders at momentumtitletn.com, or you can take it to the representative in each office that we have, and we have one in most offices anyway. Reminder also that you can submit or have your client submit their earnest money online. They have been using Earnest, and that's what their website still shows. They will be transitioning over to Payload, and you should have received an email about that recently. You'll have full instructions on that. So until you get that information, you might want to just give them a call and or talk to your person locally. Of course, you can always walk down the hall and hand them a check. That works too. Another feature that you can find on their website in the lower right-hand corner is the ability to generate title quotes, seller net sheets, and a whole lot more. So be sure and click that and check it out. That's at momentumtitletn.com. The reason I'm always pushing Momentum Title is because they help pay for the free tools that you guys enjoy here at Benchmark. You can see some of them on the screen. In fact, the one in the upper right, Real Scout, I just got a $7,000 invoice from them this morning. That's one of 5 that we will receive this year. So these tools are not free. We pay for all of them, and Momentum Title helps us pay for that. Back at you is a new one in the lower right-hand corner. We'll talk about that in just a second. We've had a pretty big push on that throughout March, and we continue to train on that even this afternoon. We'll talk about that in just a second. Welcome to all the folks in Bowling Green and up in Kentucky and the KY area. We are officially, totally, completely, absolutely open and accepting licenses. You don't have to belong to the Tennessee version to have access to the Kentucky version. You can belong to both, or just Kentucky, or just Tennessee, either one. But we are open, and your key card works in that office door. So feel free to use that if you happen to find yourself in that area. The dash, right? We've done a little reconfiguring here, but one of the things I want to point out is that everything we can do can be found right there on the calendar events, calendar of events that you see there on the dash that I just highlighted in red. And you click on the day, it will bring up all the events of that day. You can find out all the details. And if it's a class that requires registration, you can register right there on the dash. The other thing that we have changed is this down here. We've actually moved our training videos to the front tile section of the dash. I had an email the other day about logos, had an email about where do you find these recordings? Well, that big B you see to the left there, that is agent resources. That's where everything is housed. And then the training videos, how to submit your docs to paperless pipeline, how to handle Outlook, how to handle the paperless pipeline, all that stuff right there in the training video. So go and take advantage of that educational opportunity. We have one more coming up this afternoon on the Back At You Design Studio. By the way, the other 3 that we've had, they're all Zoom. They're all recorded in those training video slot that I just showed you. So go check that out. Make sure that you are up to date on what this product is. It is a for-pay product, but it's very small. We worked really hard to get that price down, and we are subsidizing that price as well. But we have one more in-person class this afternoon from 1 to 3 here in Cool Springs that you want to check it out. It's a design studio information. This is a social media marketing product. Hit that QR code right there and find out more information about it. It will automate your marketing to your clients. It will automate your marketing to other people as well. Again, we have a full calendar coming up in April. Lots of good educational stuff. The locations, the information, everything is located at that calendar, the training and events calendar you see on the dash. All links are on that training and events calendar on the dash. So just you'd click on each one of those, it would blow it up and give you a complete detailed information on what's going on. So you want to check it out on the training and events calendar. All right. A reminder that we do have a new website, and the new website, we are spending thousands of dollars improving your lead gen on the internet. These push your listings. As you know, our motto is your listing, your lead, but you have to follow up with it. You're going to be getting emails directly from the website when somebody hits your listing and inquires about it, and that will come from Union Street Media. So when you see that email come in, you know it's a hot lead on your listing from the website, and you need to respond to it right now. That's how it works. We're going to be spending a whole lot more money on this lead generation product on our website, but right now we're up to about we're up to about $30,000 that we've invested in it so far. But we are taking a sledgehammer to the internet for you and your listings. Also, our careers page, discoverbenchmark.com, has moved to our website. It's not a separate page anymore. It's a sub-page of our website, but the URL still works, discoverbenchmark.com. And a reminder that you still get $300 for each recruit that you bring in once they've been here for 60 days. So send them to that page. Be sure they identify you as the referring agent, and you'll get that money. If you have any questions about that whatsoever, feel free to reach out to your principal broker or to our director of business development, Bo Zivak. You see his email there on the screen. We have a big event coming up April the 9th that you do not want to miss. We are bringing in Travis Robertson, who is one of the best sales trainers in the country, specifically designed for real estate. He's going to come in and give you an hour presentation, and then we're going to have some other information there. We're going to have vendors, we're going to have food. So you need to register on the dash so that we have enough food, because if you show up 10 minutes late, you may not have any food left if you don't tell us about it. Travis was kind enough to put together a video for us, and I'm going to play that for you right quick.
What's up, Benchmark Realty? It's Coach Travis Robertson, and I am so excited to be joining your group on April 9th for the Benchmark Realty Summit. Now, what I'm going to be sharing in the keynote that I'm going to be delivering is called the Sales Maker Playbook. It's how elite agents are thriving in today's dynamic market. What I want to give you is a game plan for how do you get more leads and capture more market share, even in a market that seems to be kind of up and down at times and be going through a lot of transition. I believe wherever there's a lot of transition and evolution, there's an incredible opportunity for those agents who understand how to capitalize on it with the right game plan and the right strategies. So I'm going to open everything up, show you exactly what our clients are doing to get more listings, get more leads, get more clients, and get them to the closing table so you can make more money, have more fun, and have more freedom in your business. You do not want to miss this session. We are going to move fast. It's going to be very actionable, very practical, and you're going to have things that you can take away and start to put into practice in your business immediately, no matter what level your business is currently at, whether you're brand new or you've been doing this for 20 or 30 years. There's going to be something in this for you, and you never know which idea is going to be that idea that transforms then changes the trajectory of your business in 2024 and beyond. So cannot wait to see you there April 9th. I'll see you soon. Take care.
All right. You have it there from Travis. Just a reminder that there will not be a Fridays with Phillip in April because of this summit. So if you want to see us, if you want to hug Donna's neck, then you better be there at the summit, or Kimberly's neck, or whoever's neck you want to hug. All right. One quick comment also, the reminder that the broker-based commission is increasing April 1. You've received multiple messaging on this. It's going from the current 160 to 195. And I want to emphasize again, this is a client fee. This is not an agent fee. This is not new. We've had it since 2017. We're just having to increase it like everyone else. Our costs are going up. Our rent's going up. Our electricity's going up. Our salaries are going up. Everything is going up. And we have to have this additional revenue here. This is a client fee, not an agent fee. All right, we've been talking about the financial wellness program for quite some time now, and I put together a little presentation here, and it's very abbreviated, but I want to cover it one more time. the 5 pillars of financial wellness. The first one is, you can see there on the screen, maximize net 100% commission that we offer here at Benchmark. Financial literacy, financial education is the second pillar, wealth management, and then healthcare insurance. And then the fifth pillar we'll talk about here in just a second. But you know about our 100% commission model. Obviously, you heard all about it. You've been there operating under it, so that's not news. But the fact that it allows you 100% of your money to actually do what you need to do in your business is an excellent place to be, particularly in today's market and the market going forward. We'll talk about that again here in just a second, but that's a key component. The second component is a product called Smart Dollar. It's produced by the Ramsey Solutions, the Dave Ramsey people. It is an app that teaches you financial literacy. It has videos, it has training classes, it has worksheets, it teaches you how to budget, teaches you how to get out of debt, teach you how to save money, teach you how to handle money. And I forgot to mute my phone. Sorry about that. So you want to be sure that you tune into this. It costs you nothing. So tune in. And of those that are participating, we have had a $500,000 financial turnaround in those participants in about the last 7 months. We did a little pause because of some other programs that kind of got in the way, the full rollout. And this screen that I'm showing you actually is not accurate anymore, because I did a presentation at the United Country Convention last week in Austin, and we picked up 100 new users just like that. Now, their numbers haven't really been input yet, but they have actually joined the system. They are working the system. So we're going to have some serious financial turnaround in our agent affiliates here. We do some surveys as you go through it, and it's kind of interesting. This is proof that the system works. You can see we survey them on the front end. We survey them periodically throughout their use of the product. So the gray line is the front end survey totals, and the purple line are the current totals. As you can see, the question was, how stressed do you feel about your personal finances? In the beginning, it was way down, and now it's way up. How confident are you you'll be able to retire? This is kind of interesting, because the initial responses on this is nobody. Nobody that responded to that survey says they were comfortable that they could retire when they want to. And now we've got that up to 11% of the participants. They're learning about money. They're learning how to handle money. They're learning how to budget. They're figuring out that, oh, by the way, I'm eventually not going to be able to work every day, and I better have some money in the bank. Do you have 36 months expenses saved? The yes went from 60% to 80% now, and the no's went from 40% down to 20%. So tremendous inroads that we're making with this tool, and just another assurance that all of your personal information, except for your email, your address, and the totals that we see in the budgets are 100% confidential. We can't see your bank account. We can't see your personal situation. We can't see any of that stuff. And you can sign up multiple ways. You can go to the dash, click that little tile down there that looks like a light bulb, and enter either United Real Estate is the keyword, company keyword, or UREG is the keyword. Or you can just hit that QR code and it takes you directly to that screen. So I'm going to leave that hanging there for just a second while I get another drink of tea, so you can take a shot of it with your camera. All right, appropriate pause. Financial pillar number 3 is, once you have some money saved, once you feel like you've got on a path to continue accumulating savings and you need some help with investments. If you need help with structuring your financial plan, your estate plan, your tax plan, your trust, your investing, your retirement plan, we're going to put you in touch with Creative Planning. Creative Planning, we are not financial advisors, so we can't pitch their services, but they sent me this flyer, so I'm going to show it to you, because I don't think there's any securities police on this call. So there they are, 2,190 employees, 465 certified financial planners, 245 CPAs, 60 plus attorneys on staff. They now have $300 billion assets under management. They're probably the largest financial wealth planner that you've never heard of, because they mostly work from referrals like this situation. It is a fee process. They're going to charge, they get paid when you win. And Brandon Severino is the contact on that. If you hit that QR code you see on your screen right there, it will download all of his contact info to your phone, and then you can reach out to him when you are ready. But he is the man to act as a filtration. They like to deal with people that have at least $50,000 saved up, but they will begin talking to you today, even if you're still in debt up to your ears and don't have any savings. Give them a call. Give Brandon a call. He'll set you straight. And just a reminder, they're going to pay them, not us, not United. Healthcare. Devastating our society because of the cost of it, but we've come up with a solution. We call it financial wellness pillar number 4. This is the safety net underlying everything that you're going to do in your life. This is a health share plan. It also has major medical, PPOs, HSAs, medical, dental, vision, accident, critical illness, and then there's also a Maze Health, which is a proactive health system to help train you on how to get better with your health. And you can reach out to them, but we've got information here. The reason we're doing this is because 65% of bankruptcies involve medical debt. It's the #1 leading cause of bankruptcy in America today is outrageous debt. Costs are absolutely out of control. If you were to have a cancer treatment, you're talking about spending in excess of $250,000. And if you don't have insurance, you are toast, and 33% of you don't have insurance. So you want to reach out to them, because without it, you're playing a dangerous game. It's kind of like an acrobat performing without a net. It's all fun and games until you fall. And all you got to do is reach out on the website. I've even got a QR code here. Set up an appointment to talk to them. They will tell you if you're already on the best plan. So just do a comparison plan. And the QR code will take you to that website to set up an appointment with them and have a telephone conversation. If they tell you that the marketplace plans are better than theirs, they will even help walk you through the marketplace plan. So do not, I beg you, do not go without insurance one day longer. It's essential to your survival in this world. Just a little quick reminder that back during open enrollment, you got carpet bombed by United Healthcare, the guys on the right. We are United Real Estate Group Healthcare, the guys on the left. So it's a totally different thing. You want to ignore this one. Some of your associations actually sold your information to United Healthcare. And so you literally got bombed by emails and text messages and phone calls from United Healthcare. That is not us. We are UREG Healthcare, United Real Estate Group Healthcare. That's the 4 pillars. And the 5th one, just a reiteration here, is that on the 2nd one is provided for you free. The wealth management, you're going to pay them directly. The insurance, you're going to pay them directly. We don't make anything on the wealth management, helping that advisory service. We make nothing on that. We do make a very small stipend on the healthcare insurance, and we are taking 100% of that money and we are putting it into a charitable reinvestment fund that we're calling the United Good Works Foundation. And that is going to roll out later in 2024, 2025. So not only are we helping you learn about, not only giving you all your money, helping you learn about your money, securing your safety net, we're also then reinvesting those funds in the future. This will be a scholarship fund for your kids and your grandkids and other applicants that want to apply for it, for colleges, for trade schools. It's be a 503c. We don't have it all completely worked out yet, but that's going to be coming later. Right now, we're just accumulating those funds so that when we do roll it out, we actually have money in it without having to contribute additional funds. So that's pretty cool, and want to keep that in mind. Okay, so let's do some quick company numbers. I know we're at the end of March now, so we're going to talk about February because that's basically all that we have. We don't have March numbers yet. Benchmark February snapshots, you can see here that in 2023, we were at 244 million. 6 million in commissions on 558 transactions. And you can see the market was at 2186. We were at 437 average sales price. That is a Benchmark's average sales price, not the average price in the market. Now, the one I like to always compare is how do we do compared to the market? We were down 5.4% on transaction count, even though that was only 30 transactions, that still amounted to 5.4%, while the market as a whole was up 2.8%. But I love seeing gross sales up. I love seeing gross commissions up. Not too crazy about the average sales price going up, but it is what it is, right? And how do we do on inventory? February 29th, 2024, we were at 1265. Last year at the same time, we were at 1230. There's 1 day difference because of leap year, but that's a 10.5% increase in inventory month over month, which is an excellent thing. Some of that is seasonality. Some of that is because y'all are getting out there hustling, and some of that's because people are calling you. Year over year, it's up 2.9%. And on affiliate count, we were up 4.2%. Now I know there's a lot of words, a lot of numbers, and it's kind of blurry in your head. I know how real estate agents are, and I track this stuff. I'm a left brainer. I track this stuff like crazy, but I also boil it down to pictures. A picture tells 1,000 words. You can see how we are tracking 2024 on gross sales relative to other years, and you can also see that we are slightly above 23, way below 22, but that's a good thing. We're moving upward. Okay. Also, same thing on gross commissions, moving upward. Transaction count, yeah, sort of moving up. We are lower than the last 4 years. We're actually back at 2019 level, but still, it is what it is. We're tucked in there behind 2020 and 2019. They both started out January, February, about the same where we are now. So it's almost like the last 3 years didn't happen, but we'll deal with what we have when we have it, right? Okay, national market. You can read all this stuff in the newspapers, but I try to boil it down for you. February existing home sales annualized 4.38 million, which is kind of an interesting and surprising increase, up 9.4% month over month, but still down 3.3% year over year. Strike a red line across there so you can kind of see how it averages out relative to the other months. It appears that we are moving in an upward trend. Total existing home sales percent per year. Looks like we had some going on pretty good here. Let me get a little highlighter so you can see there. It looks like we were moving a definite upward trend, and then we kind of dropped back a little bit right here. This is the percent change year over year on home sales. Existing home sales in a larger perspective. This is going back 10 years. Okay. So 10 years, again, you strike a line across here, and it appears that we have survived through the low dip that you see right in this area here. We'll see what the future holds, but it's looking optimistic. National median home price had an unexpectedly high increase, 5.7% year over year, to a national average of 384,500. You can see that I've drawn an arrow here from February 23 to February of 24 so that you can do the comparison across the top there as well. And then the existing home sales price, median price, percent change year over year. It was declining this time last year, bottomed out here in March of, that's 06. And then it began to, what am I doing here? 2023, that was June of 06 when it bottomed out. And then it began to increase and has steadily risen and continues to rise. So we'll see. It's really inexplicable with the interest rates increases, but we'll see how that turns out. I think we're coming to a point where people just can't sit on the sidelines any longer. They've got to get out in the market. They've become accustomed to what the rates are doing, that they are actually exhibiting some steadfastness, some steadiness. And you've heard me say it before that consumers can stand high rates, they can stand low rates. What they can't stand is uncertainty in rates. So once we get some certainty in rates, then you begin to see people come off the bench. And this is a problem, though. This is home buying costs growing twice as fast as incomes in America. So if you want to know what the real problem in housing is, that's it right there. Wages are not keeping up with the cost of houses. Don't know how that's going to get fixed. The biggest problem is inventory that we have. We still have an inventory problem, but we'll see. That's a bigger pay grade than mine. Realtor's Confidence Index, February 24 is the dark line, 23 is the gray line. First-time home buyers, you're having more first-time home buyers last year than this year. Sales to investors is up compared to last year. Cash sales are up compared to last year. Distressed sales are up slightly compared to last year. And then days on market are up compared to February of 23. Interesting input. The other thing I will tell you, though, is that it's worrisome sometimes as the market can be. You need to get on your knees and thank the good Lord you live in the South, because 46% of all sales are happening in the South. So if you can't make it here, you can't make it anywhere. That's for sure. Look at the West, the Northeast, the Midwest. This is a similar percentages to what we saw last month, but the differences were up in here from last month's report, but that 46% held steady in the South, and that's a definite trend. Showing activity, as you can see that I have circled here, the orange line that you see, or the yellow line that you see, is the weekly activity, 2024 weekly, and we're tracking pretty high on showing activity. So that bodes well for future. We don't have the pending home sales report. It's not going to be released. February's pending home sales is released at 10 a.m. today. So we didn't know exactly what those are. But as of last week or earlier this week, no, last week, it looks like pending sales were down a little bit from last year. So I expect that pending home sales at the end of February will be down. But the projections are good. We see these projections, these forecasts, this gray area here is what everybody thinks the market's going to do. And we see an upward trend there. So we're pretty happy about that. One of the big questions we get asked is, what's the best time? Or I see this, I guess, out there in a lot of chatter and social media. What's the best time to actually put a home on the market? And actually, that's been quantified now. Zillow did a lot of research, and they figured out that on a national average, homes listed in the first 2 weeks of June sold for 2.3% more than any other time in the year. So if you want to answer your clients' questions about when is the best time, this analysis shows that the middle of June is the time. The closest individual market that I could find in that data was Charlotte, North Carolina. And their number was the second half of May. So we can comfortably say that at the beginning of end of spring, beginning of summer is the best time to put your home in the market. And all of you just said, well, duh, I've known that for years. In the case of Charlotte, there was a 3% increase if you put your home on the market the last 2 weeks of May, which equaled about $11,000 potential windfall in that market. A little news out this week that the surveys are all in. This particular one is from Riz Media, ranks United Real Estate, which you are part of. By transaction count, we are number 8. I think Real Trends had us placed as number 5. And by transaction count, I haven't seen that one yet. I have seen this one. So this is kind of a bragging point here for you to share with your clients. All right, let's get to the nitty gritty. I'm going to go through a lot of stuff here. And I'm going to say some things that are important to understand. We are at a pivotal point, and this stuff is critical to know. We have over 300 people on the call right now, and I'm thankful for every one of you. I wish that the rest would be on here to hear this and have questions answered, but I assume that many of them will actually catch it in recorded mode when we release it. By the way, all of this, including this slide deck, will be posted on the Benchmark Dash this afternoon. Okay? So if you want to take some of this information and incorporate it in your buyer presentations or incorporate it in your listing presentations, that's why I'm doing this. But the main reason I'm doing it is because of it. There is a lot of misinformation out there. There is a lot of outright lies going on out there. And I'm going to rebut most of that here in this presentation. If you would hold your questions until I get through this, because I will answer most of the questions that anybody could have, I believe, but we'll see. Here we go. First thing I want to read a disclaimer. As you see there on your screen, the purpose of this training is to help our affiliated licenses in setting up their businesses as independent contractors. We are not attorneys, licensed insurance agents, or CPAs. If you need legal or professional assistance in these areas, please consult one. We will not discuss commission percentages or offer guidance on specific fees during any part of this training because there is no such thing as a standard fee or commission structure in our industry. Remember, commissions are now and always have been completely negotiable. Do not post a question in comments in Q&A regarding percentages, okay? Please, it will be deleted and not answered. The opinions and views expressed here are based on the speaker's experience, 22 years in this industry, over 30 years of actual real estate investing, and may not reflect the reviews of Benchmark or our parent company, United Real Estate. So now we got the disclaimer out of the way. This whole thing centers on the recently announced NAR proposed settlement. I have read the thing. Let me go back here. I have read the thing 3 times. This first one, which you can see there, that's the settlement itself. These are the other lawsuits. I have read every word. I have read every word of the settlement 3 times. 98% of the people out here yapping on social media have not even picked up the document. Okay? Listen to me. Listen to Benchmark. Listen to your principal brokers. We will tell you the information when you need the information, okay? We will give you the accurate information. Do not parrot what you're reading on social media, because 98% of it is wrong. We're going to walk through this item by item. But I ran across a little statement from Mike Del Prete, and Mike Del Prete is a university professor at the University of Colorado Boulder, who talks about our industry and studies our industry and analyzes our industry very steadily. And he had a post yesterday on his LinkedIn that I just want to read because it very well articulates the problem that we're experiencing here. And this is Mike's words, and here it is. You can go look on his LinkedIn site if you want to. Many folks have asked for my opinion on the NAR settlement. The problem is that I deal in facts, not speculation, and there's not a lot of facts right now. It's unfortunate to see the level of confusion this decision has created, and many are using it as a way to push their own agenda. Tech companies are spinning it as a reason to buy their services. Coaches are saying it's more important than ever to hire them. Disruptors are pitching their models as the future. Brokerages are saying nothing will change. The news media are writing headlines to get clicks, and every pundit is posting an opinion. And the webinars, ... Yes, there are a few voices of reason, but they're getting lost in the noise. It's an overwhelming tidal wave of opinions. I'll certainly chime in when I feel I have valuable contribution to make, but that's not right now. Not right now. I deal in facts, not opinions. My thoughts are summed up in a Bloomberg article, and I'm going to reiterate that as follows. Right now, everyone is turning this ruling into what they want it to be, said Mike Del Prete. Some people are saying not much is going to change. Others want the story to be that it's a seismic shift for the industry. The whole thing is being driven by fear and uncertainty. So stay calm, stay informed, and focus on what you can control. I could have not said it better. That's exactly why I have not done what I'm doing today so far, because of so much noise and so much uncertainty. Now that we are seeing a little clarity in the situation, I am addressing the situation. Your brokers are your primary source of information. Their primary source of information comes from Scott Rowland and myself, because we study this stuff, we read this stuff, we know this stuff directly from the root source. And one of the things that you probably have heard me say in the past is that I am on the team that is setting the legal strategy for all of United Real Estate, now the 8th, 6th, 5th, however large they are, comparison real estate company in America. I know the root conversations that are going on. These bozos on social media do not. So I'll get off my rant, but I wanted to just make that crystal clear on the front end. So let's lay out exactly what the facts are. 3 things we know. The proposed settlement will take months before the court rules. And here's a fact. None of the previously announced proposed settlements have yet to be approved. None of them. None of the settlements have gone into effect. None of the settlements are finalized. None of the settlements have been accepted by the courts yet, and they won't be for months. Okay? Number 2, there are several rule changes that are triggered by the date this NAR proposed settlement was petitioned to the court. So it doesn't have to wait until it's accepted by the court for the rules in the settlement to go into effect. Okay, we're going to talk about this extensively here. Please take notes. We have, and the third one is, we have no idea when or if the DOJ will review and file an amicus brief like they did in the no-select MLS PIN proposed settlement. They've indicated they won't intervene in the NAR proposed settlement, but who knows? We don't know. The DOJ is the wild card. As I have said for a year, the DOJ and the FTC are the wild cards in this entire conversation. So it could be daily that news change. All right, the basic facts. The proposed settlement was announced March the 15th, but only petitions, that means submitted, to the court late last week to settle the seller side lawsuits for $418 million. The buyer side lawsuits have not been addressed. Why have the buyer side lawsuits not been addressed? And there are about 8 of them. Because the buyer side lawsuits are the weakest lawsuits in antitrust. Part of antitrust says that you have to be a consumer of the goods to be harmed, and the buyer was not a consumer of the goods of the commission side because it came through the listing agent, through the seller side, okay? So that's probably not going to fly. People are not generally that worried about the buyer side claims, I think. The proposed settlement includes mandatory NAR/MLS rule changes that come into effect 120 days after the first court petition. You look at a calendar from last week, go out 120 days, that targets mid-July when the rules change. Rules come into effect. All individual realtors are covered, and if settlement is accepted, meaning release from all current seller side claims, the buyer side claims are unaddressed by this settlement proposal. Every state and local realtor association is covered. All realtor-owned MLSs are covered. What are not covered are all brokerages with total annual residential real estate sales, gross residential real estate sales above $2 billion, which Benchmark has in 2022, are specifically excluded and not covered. Go back to the third bullet point. You are covered by this proposed settlement. I don't care what you read. I don't care what somebody says. You are covered by this proposed settlement. Okay. NAR has published a series of fact sheets. They have a website, facts.realtor, and there's a QR code if you want to go visit. They have done a decent job of presenting information. They have misaligned some of the information because they kind of shot before, it's kind of a ready, shoot, aim approach to a lot of this stuff. NAR's approach on this has been to rely upon you, the membership, to spread the news. They have been grossly silent in the media, in my opinion. And because of that, they are losing the voice of the consumer, and you see headlines like this. So I want to take a series of confrontations here and address these falsehoods. These are actual headlines, guys, from newspapers, in many cases from worldwide newspapers. Powerful realtor group agrees to slash commissions to settle lawsuits. NAR settlement could slash home prices for many audiences, many Americans. The realtors reach settlement that will change how Americans buy and sell homes. We're going to walk through each of those, but it has risen to a crescendo that I just can't ignore any longer. And this is the biggest one I've seen.
In addition, last week, the National Association of Realtors agreed for the first time that Americans can negotiate lower commissions when they buy or sell their home. On a typical home purchase, that alone could save folks an average of $10,000 on the sale or purchase. I'm calling on realtors to follow through on lowering their commissions to protect home buyers.
So when the leader of the free world stands up and addresses your industry with an absolute falsehood, it's problematic for me, and I have to say something. It's showing up in other places too. The snippet that you see on the screen is from a court document that I received yesterday. One of our agents, one of our affiliates, is listing a home for a divorcing couple. Part of the divorce decree was that he would be the listing agent to sell the home. They would split the proceeds, whatever. He arrived at a contract. And by the way, I have his permission to share this. He arrived at a contract or brought a contract in that had a commission that Mr. Seller, the adversary, didn't like. In the rebuttal, which I have submitted to the court in Davidson County, Nashville, Tennessee, is this section right here. As the court may or may not be aware, a settlement has been reached by the National Association of Realtors regarding the inappropriateness of the 6% fee agreements and specifically agreeing that the additional 3% guaranteed for buyer's agents shall cease. As of March 2024, the 6% fee is no longer appropriate pursuant to their own agreement. There's also pending Department of Justice action. Now, okay, let's couch my comments with the fact that this is from a divorce attorney on the other side of the table, and their job is to keep everybody emotionally elevated so they make more money. But the ethics of the bald-faced lie contained in that document right here in a court document is astounding. And it's absolutely unconscionable that the messaging has gotten so far outside our control. Our own association promulgated this post yesterday, and buddy, I flat threw down on them. According to paragraph 18B, all realtors are covered. I don't understand the whole point and focus of them even focusing on this. I confronted the local association. I confronted TAR. The president of United Real Estate confronted NAR. We did not receive a satisfactory response from any of them. But we will continue to fight the fight and push the truth forward because we have to control this messaging. All right, so I'm going to go through that. That's my rant for today. I'm done with the rant. I'm just going to deal with facts now. I'll try to rebut some of the falsehoods in writing. And I'm going to give a lot of credit to Budge Husky, who's the former CEO of Coldwell Banker. There are a lot of information out there. He put out a really good article. He even did a video about it, and I think it was well received. And the cry and shame is, why didn't the association do that? Why did an individual principal broker have to do that? But that's a different conversation, all right? But I'm going to walk through these, and I've modified them and corrected some of them and smoothed them out to be more applicable to our particular environment, because what I'm trying to do today is give you the tangible tools to talk to your clients, okay? So the first one was the proposed settlement, and this is the falsehood. The proposed settlement forces brokers to reduce their compensation. That is absolutely false. Okay, the settlement does not establish a standard, nor does it even mention anywhere in it what agent should or may charge. That has always been negotiable. Falsehood: the proposed settlement will, for the first time, allow sellers to no longer pay compensation for an agent bringing a buyer. That is false. There has not been a requirement for a seller to pay a specific buyer agent commission in many years. A past NAR ruling required some offer compensation to list a property in a Realtor-owned MLS. That was reduced to $1 several years ago, and RealTrax has now reduced it to $0. You do not have to offer compensation, but there's never been a rule that required compensation. We just did it as a custom, and that's an important point to make. The proposed settlement prohibits sellers from paying a commission to a buyer's agent and relieves sellers of the financial burden. The proposed settlement restricts properties with an offer of buyer agent compensation from displaying on an agent-owned MLS that offer of compensation, yet the practice can't be restricted in any other form of marketing. We're going to get into that detail here in just a second. And then also, sellers may still elect to pay buyer agent compensation to differentiate their properties, while sellers can elect to not pay buyer compensation. That doesn't mean they will avoid the economics, as buyers may write into any offer a contingency requiring the buyer to cover the cost or request other concessions. We're going to talk about that in just a second too. Operative words here in all of this: buyer to seller, seller to buyer. The agents are out of the middle of it. The agents are out of the control of the compensation portion. The proposed settlement will serve to lower prices and make home ownership affordable again. This is the biggest falsehood of anything that's being promulgated by the press. Values in real estate are determined simply by supply and demand, period. Fees in a real estate transaction represent additional expenses, yet those include not only commissions, but many other related charges such as closing costs, points on the loan, etc. Should real estate commissions be reduced by 1% because of compression, that $500,000 home will now cost $495,000, not a dramatic drop in home prices. Not only is the potential impact marginal at best, it is ludicrous to think the seller now believes the home is worth less money and will happily give the difference to the buyer. The reason home ownership is increasingly less affordable is that homes in our market have significantly risen in value in these past few years, not because of the realtor commission, period. Sorry if I'm yelling, but I'm yelling. This is stupid. The proposed settlement will result in significant restitution to consumers who were harmed over recent years in the transactions by realtors. That is absolutely false. The settlement is huge, Yet when one divides that amount by the number of potentially qualifying consumers, it works out to about $10 per individual. Yet the attorneys are benefiting to the tune of nearly a little bit over $200 million in fees. I did a little chart there, proposed settlement amounts so far that we have. $684 million that these companies have agreed to settle to end the litigation, to get it off their plate, to stop arguing about it. 684 million, and the attorneys are going to get 200 million of that. The rest of it is going to be split across everyone who bought a home in America since about 2012. Okay, 2019, I think. That's a huge amount of people. Huge amount of people. These consumers are going to get maybe $10 a piece. Here's a summary of the truth. Offers of buyer representative compensation by a listing agent will be prohibited anywhere in the associate-owned MLSs. Seller's offer of compensation to the buyer representative is expressly permitted. It just cannot be shown anywhere in the associate-owned MLS. A buyer's agent commission can still be paid one of three ways. By the consumer, aka the buyer directly. We're going to talk about that in just a second. Via a seller concession. However, that concession cannot specifically be conditioned on user's payment to a buyer broker. That verbiage is straight from the settlement agreement. And then via a portion of the listing broker's compensation. Buyer representation agreements will be mandatory and must be executed before, words of the settlement, doing a home tour. Buyer representative, the agent, will be prohibited from accepting compensation for more than that which is shown in the agreement. Offers of compensation may be shown on brokerage websites relative to that brokerage's listings only. And then finally, listings do not have to be entered into the MLS for the agent to receive compensation. However, the rules did not bar clear cooperation, which is a RealTrax MLS rule. So basically, the summary of that is that any website that feeds data from the MLS is banned from showing buyer side comp on any listings other than our listings. Okay. The only exception is a brokerage or agent's website, and you can show compensation on your listings on your website, not ours, yours. If it's your individual website. On our website as a brokerage, we can show compensation on benchmark listings. We're not sure how we're going to do that yet because our website feeds from RealTrax. The portals feed from RealTrax. They cannot show compensation. Okay. So these are things that the details that all have to be hammered out yet, and we're not real sure how it's going to shake out. Point of me telling you this stuff is that when anybody says definitively this is how it's going to work and it's actually going to absolutely be that way, you better be careful. You better stop. You better pause. You better pick up the phone and call your broker and say, I need to run this by you. These are the changes that are going to be required by the agreement. And remember, these go into effect 120 days after the document was sent to the court. So these are changes that are going to be required by the settlement. Shared compensation will be banned from specific mention anywhere in association-owned MLSs, which is RealTrax, including in private remarks. The shared compensation field will be removed from RealTrax, and a seller's concession field will be added listing either a fixed dollar amount or a percentage of sales. Been telling you guys about this for a while. Okay, those 2 points exactly, specifically, I have mentioned repeatedly. Buyer representation agreements will be mandatory, kept on file, and able to be produced if audited. And buyer representation agreements must predate the offer or the contract. Okay, so as we have always said, you must execute the buyer representation agreement at the beginning of the relationship for it to be enforceable. Now it's going to be mandatory before you show the first house. Now, before you go into panic mode and fire off a bunch of questions on that, let me clarify. This does not include open houses, okay? It specifically says home tour in the document. In open houses, you are not showing an individual touring a house. You're opening the house for view. We probably will be developing a first-time showing document where you can say, here's, if you decide to buy this house from me, this is what it's going to cost. Probably a single-page document. We don't know yet. We're still in the development stages on that. But the point you need to understand is that 120 days from last week, you can no longer put compensation in the MLS, and the compensation field will disappear. And I already have a commitment from Realtrax that they were going to install a seller's concession. The seller's concession can be used for anything. The seller is saying, at this price, I'm going to allow you, the buyer, this amount of money. Do what you want to with it. Emphasizing the reason for the need to have the buyer rep agreement with the compensation in it already discussed at the beginning of the relationship, so that buyer knows, okay, part of this money's got to go for that. Seller can't dictate that. Listing agent cannot dictate that. And they are mandatory. Now, this is going to be not a, who's going to do the enforcement on this? This has nothing to do with TREC. This has nothing to do with state law. These are NAR agreement, settlement agreement rules. So that means they'll be enforced through the MLS. If somebody raises a complaint, I don't believe they've got a settlement agreement, I don't believe they've got a buyer rep agreement, then it's going to be up to NAR to enforce it, just like it's up to NAR to enforce the clear cooperation, but they've said that's an association rule. This one is going to be a bigger deal. I don't really know how that's going to play out, and anybody who says they do doesn't know, okay? But you got to make sure that your buyer rep agreement is done at the beginning of the relationship. Now, maybe you want to show 2 or 3 houses before you get them in a buyer rep, before you do an official buyer presentation. And I think that's fine. I think we're going to have a form for that that says, if you should buy these homes I'm showing you, then this is what the commission would be. Then you're going to be responsible for paying that. We'll work those details out and we will inform you of those details. There is no universal answer to that, is my point. Okay. Here's some more. By the way, the buyer rep agreement, some sort of written agreement must be executed before going on a home tour. This is no impact on home search. I just said that, right? Can be a one-time showing form. The buyer representation agreement cannot be open-ended. So that Section 3, and I assume that when they have the new one, it's going to be Section 3 also, where you're talking about your compensation. You cannot put in there whatever the seller is offering. Okay, that's open-ended and that won't be allowed. The buyer representation agreement must disclose any other compensation in all commissions and that all commissions are negotiable. So if there's a bonus, you're going to have to execute an addendum to your buyer rep compensation. All agreements can be amended if everyone agrees. And clearly TAR forms are going to need to be revised to accommodate these changes. Until then, we'll use what we have. Plain and simple, okay? And it's going to be up to Realtrax to audit that if they decide to. Okay, being proactive company that we are, we're going to enact some changes ahead of time through our compliance process, because as you know, we have one of the best compliance processes in the state. So plain and simple, as of effective May 1, buyer representation agreements will be mandatory and must predate the offer/contract they accompany. It will hard stop your transaction if you do not have a buyer rep agreement accompanying the contract that predates that contract. Predates the contract means the date is prior to the contract date. Okay? I want to be very clear on that. This goes into effect May 1st. We are being proactive because we want to get into routine. We want to get into custom. We know there's going to be some people who struggle with this. There's going to be some that are just now waking up from their long winter nap and saying, oh crap, what happened? We're going to give some grace. We're not going to fire anybody. We're not going to be mad at anybody, but we're going to put some guidelines in place now so that by mid-July, we're in the groove and there's no question of what we're doing and won't be in violation of any laws. Shared compensation cannot be mentioned anywhere in RealTrac's listing included in private remarks. Now, that is something we're going to be checking when we look at your listing sheet from the MLS. Now, until they remove the shared compensation field in MLS, we're not going to say anything to you. But once they do, which we anticipate will happen shortly before mid-July, we're going to hold this rule in place. We're going to be reading. That's when we always ask for a copy of your MLS sheet. And then once overall changes are announced by RealTracs, your best buyer representation compensation options are, point of fact, make darn sure your buyer rep agreement matches what you're doing. If it didn't, the original one didn't, then amend it. Just change it. You can always change these things. Insert buyer agent compensation within special stipulations and negotiate it as part of the offer counter offer process. Did you hear me? This is what they have been doing in the commercial world for 30 years. If you want to get paid as a buyer's representative, put it in the special stipulations, make it an element of the agreement, negotiate it out just like everybody else does in the commercial world. Okay. Does that raise the price of the home? Do you have appraisal problems? I cannot believe that $5,000 is going to kill an appraisal. Okay. Have your buyer pay you from the concessions offered. So this will be the other side of the table so that the seller has already said, hey, Mr. Buyer or any potential buyer, we're going to give for a $100,000 house, we're going to give you $3,000. Use it however you want to. That'll cover all your closing costs, all your mortgage points, all your extra stuff. And, you know, we just can't say you can use it for the buyer commission, but you can use it for the buyer commission. If you want to, it's your money. Okay. And then, or have your buyer pay you flat out of pocket. So all of these are conversations you need to have on the front end of how to do this, what the buyer is comfortable in the approach on, and the process before you write the offer, before you write the first of offer. Now, again, those are after the changes are announced by RealTracs, not today. As of today, nothing has changed. Those are after RealTracs has announced the changes. Let me say it one more time. After RealTracs has announced the changes. Okay? I want you to hear all of what I'm saying, not what you think you heard. Okay? Be real careful here. Here's why we're doing the buyer rep. So we've been tracking this since November. In November, we were tagging a 90.31% correctly executed rate. In December, it went up to 90.6. In January, at 94.71. In February, it fell off a little bit to 90.54. And in March, it bottomed. This is not acceptable. Every deal must have a buyer rep agreement accompanying it that predates the offer, or it will be stopped starting May 1st. That's mandatory. Okay. We gave you some scripts last month. They're posted on the dash in the last Fridays with Phillip of how to get this done, how to do this. Here's what to say. I can't do any more than sit with you and actually have the conversation with your buyer. You've got to do this. You've got to train yourself up, and you got to do it right now because you got about 30 days before all this stuff happens. This slide you see on the screen is from the RealTracs presentation yesterday, which I thought was very good. The fellow was he was an attorney, so I'm not going to argue with an attorney, but there was a couple of things that I have issue with. He was saying on there that changes wouldn't happen until August. It's not how I read it, but I'm not an attorney. So here's what you can't do representing sellers. You can't enter into the MLS any offer to pay buyers, broker. You can't mutually offer to share comp on MLS or sites/apps fed by the MLS. Note, using some other system among brokers risks lawsuits. So that if you try to develop, and the settlement statement says this, if you try to develop a parallel system, such as a closed group on Facebook, that opens yourself up to potential trust action lawsuit as well, individually. It also may negate your coverage under the settlement. Don't do that. Don't participate in that. If you see that, turn it in. That's what these attorneys are looking for, man. And they are going to keep coming until they get every possible penny out of this industry they can. Don't do that. What you can do, you can continue to negotiate with clients. You can offer comp on your website for your listings. You can negotiate in the deal, just like we talked about, adding it in special stipulations. And you can enter deal points on the MLS. For example, seller's willing to offer X% to closing costs. Seller invites purchase offer to request closing cost payments. So let me back up 1 second and talk about this, putting it in special stipulations. You have to wait until that field of offered shared compensation disappears off RealTrax before you do that. Let me say that again. Don't put it in the contract, in the offer itself, until you see that field disappear off RealTrax. Why? Because Code of Ethics 1616 says you can't use an offer to attempt to change compensation that's already published. Once that field disappears, that compensation is not published anymore, is it? But up until that point, you could potentially be violating the Code of Ethics. It's a delicate balancing line we're walking here, so we want to make sure we clearly communicate on that. And if you have any questions, talk to your principal broker. They're all well trained on this stuff. And representing buyers, you can no longer say your services are free unless they truly are. That was a grievous mistake that NAR got us into for years. They published it everywhere. Many other brokerages had it in their training literature. It has absolutely never been true that your services were free. Somebody paid for them somewhere along the way. You can't say it unless you're actually working for pro bono now, okay? Unless you actually truly are working for free. You cannot filter listings based on offer to share commission. That's called steering. It's a violation of the Fair Housing Act. It's a federal law violation, which could get you into a really big problem. What you can do is you can continue to negotiate with your clients. You can agree to offset commissions based on purchase negotiations or seller concessions. Add your commission to the sales price if there's nothing in there, okay? There are lots of ways to do this. If you'll recall, 2 months ago, I recommended 5 books on negotiations you need to go read. If you want to go watch my Fridays with Phillip from 2 months ago, 3 months ago, whatever it was, I recommend you go check those books out. They are some of the best books on negotiation. You need to find every one you can find right now and read it, because it's going to be the difference in being able to articulate your value proposition and negotiate with the selling side, or help your buyer negotiate with the selling side, and success in the future. And you can include in purchase offer a request for credit towards the buyer agreed upon buyer rep agreements. You can say it that way, right? The listing agent just cannot say this money is for that, but they can negotiate seller to buyer, keywords, seller to buyer to seller negotiation as an element, as a component of the contract. It can be phrased that way. And this is a timeline that came from yesterday's webinar as well. Class action consolidation is actually going on today, or tomorrow. The JDML panel is hearing if they want to consolidate these lawsuits. It'll be a fairness hearing, preliminary approval. That's Q2 2024. I think it's going on today. They will have the hearings, then they will make the decision. So technically he's right, Q2 2024. Q3 2024, August-ish, new rules go into effect. I don't read it that way, but I'm not an attorney. I read it as mid-July. MLS systems will update and the forms will update. So as I've said, I believe it's going to happen closer to mid to late July. But regardless, we have time to install. We have time to practice this. We have time to work toward this. We have time to figure out exactly what the pattern is that we're going to follow individually as well as corporately. And in Q4 2024, or possibly later, there'll be comments to the court on the settlement. Some consumers may opt out, the court's final approval, and then most of the cases will end at that point, assuming some of those 94 largest brokers that got the middle finger by NAR don't decide to continue to litigate. Home Services has said, we are going to continue to litigate. Their case may very well wind up before the U.S. Supreme Court. And that, again, may modify things in the future. We don't know. There's an opportunity for mediation. I know that United is probably going to mediate. They are the formula that was included in the settlement for payment of a settlement was outrageous. It's just ludicrous. So I'm pretty sure they're going to mediate. Here are the main metrics you need to remember. As a buyer's agent, the days of just showing up and automatically getting paid have ended. Assuming the court approves, there will be no more guaranteed shared compensation. And we've been saying this for over a year. So hopefully you've been preparing your buyer presentations. You've been preparing your script for your value proposition, and you will make a smooth transaction to this small changes in the world. As a buyer's agent, your compensation must come from the buyer in one format or another, via concession from the seller to the buyer, who then hands it to you. Listing agent to the buyer, who then hands it to you. The listing agent can reduce their commission and throw it in the deal, or from the buyer's outside funds, or actually negotiated within the confines of the contract itself. There will be no more compensation from listing broker directly to the buyer broker once the rules come into play. And I want to issue a strong cautionary note here on steering. If you don't show a house because of the compensation, you will be found out. And that will be a problem for you and for Benchmark. And that's not going to be a good day in your world when that happens. I'm just telling you. It's a violation of the Fair Housing Act, a clear shut the book, throw the key away, put the guy in jail case of, if steering is the case, you'll be found out. Don't do it. Don't do it. Let me say it again. Don't do it. Key point, nothing in the proposed settlement prevents sellers from paying a buyer representative commission. All the fluff, all the falsehoods, all the headlines are most of them are bold-faced lies, or at best, twisting of words of what actually is happening. And here's some final thoughts for you. And we're getting close. We're doing good on time, actually. As of this moment that we are talking, March the 28th, 2024, nothing has actually changed. Okay. The first changes will be mid-July at the earliest. Watch for us announcing the changes. Watch for RealTracs announcing the changes. Stop listening to your buddy who doesn't know crap about the whole situation. Pay attention to your broker and to the news releases from Benchmark, and you will be fine. You will be fine. Not sharing a listing with a buyer is steering. It's illegal under the Fair Housing Act, resulting in very high civil penalties and loss of your license. Do you really want to go there just because you wanted to get another $500? Really? Don't do it. Don't do it. We've been training for this. We've been training for this. We've been training for this for over a year. Everything we have, you can find Benchmark agent resources Fridays with Phillip. And here are some specific ones where we have talked about this ad nauseum. We have given you charts. We've given you graphs. We've given you scripts. We've given you buyer presentations. We've given you everything we know how to do. We've been talking about it since way last year. Hard. So please take this weekend if you have some time. Take next weekend. Schedule it out. Don't try to swallow an elephant. Do it a little bit at a time if you need to. Take some of these things, digest them, look at the accompanying PowerPoint displays, and then develop your own modus operandi on how you're going to make it through these changes in the market. These future changes could result in further commission compression. Counterpoint to that is your ability to effectively articulate your value proposition to that client. We give you the tools, but you must use them. If you can't articulate your value prop, what you're going to bring to the table, what you're going to do for that client, how you're going to help that client, if they're not convinced of what you're offering, you're going to have commission compression. Why would they pay you more when you haven't convinced them that you're doing your job? This is your career. This is why it's so important to understand that it's up to you 100% to communicate that to your client. Listing agents, listen to me carefully here. Learn how to discuss this with your sellers ahead of time. You do not want unrepresented buyers showing up. You just don't want it. Prepare your sellers ahead of time for the willingness to include a buyer agent commission in their concessions. Okay? I'm just not all talking to buyer's agents now. This equally impacts the listing agents. Now, list to last still applies. You're going to have more control as a listing agent for sure, but it's harder. It develops a different skill set. I would encourage you to work on both sides of that coin and develop both your skill sets. Here's a really big point you need to understand, that you could not be in a better spot to excel through these changes. The Benchmark 100% commission model offers you 100% autonomy to negotiate as you see fit and as it best suits your business. It's the traditional brokers that are charging 25, 15, 30%, whatever they're charging, they're not going to back up from that. They can't. Their cost structure is built on that. Our money is the same whether you charge 1% or 100%. Our money is the same. You could not be in a better spot. If somebody says, oh, well, I'll give you leads, it doesn't matter, because if you can't do anything with those leads, you still got zero. Stay here, focus on your assets, focus on your tools, focus on your training, get better at this, or go ahead and retire your license. I don't know how to say it in as simple as that. You could not be in a better place, because now it is time to be. You are the CEO of your business. It's time to be one. There has never been a better opportunity. There's never been a better situation that you're in right here at Benchmark than where you are right now to excel through this. And the other thing I'll leave you with is cut out the noise, okay? Winston Churchill said, you will never reach your destination if you stop to throw rocks at every dog that barks. If you try to engage in an argument with every idiot out here on the street, you're never going to reach your destination. Focus on what you know, hone your skills, develop your training, lean in on the training we offer, and you'll be fine. You'll be fine. All right. Topsy-turvy, but we'll keep you informed as we go through it, as we know more. And that QR code you see on the screen is my contact info that has my email in it. Please don't send me a Facebook message. Send me an email, okay? Or pick up the phone and call me. I just don't do Facebook Messenger very well. So send me an email, and it's in that. If you will hit that QR code, that will download my contact info to your phone right now. All right. Now, with that said, Kimberly's stepping in here. And
all right. So really quick, we've got quite a few questions for you. I just want to put this up front. If you typed in a message and you do not disclose your name and it's just a phone number, we will not be reading your question off. So if you have a question, please make sure you include your name before we go ahead and go through it. So Phillip, I'm going to go through a lot of questions. Because there's so many, I think if you have already went over it in the PowerPoint presentation, maybe you just say refer back to the recording, because there is a lot. Will that work?
yeah, absolutely.
Okay. All right. So the first one regarding whoops, hold on. It's flipping every time I get on here. All right. Tom Arnold has many, many questions for you. Okay. Regarding buyer representation agreement being required before showing a property, who will be monitoring that to ensure this is being done up front? If I'm a listing agent doing an open house, would I need to have any buyer who wants to come into open house sign a buyer rep agreement first before entering?
That one I already answered.
Okay. If number 2 is true, I can't represent both sides. So how does that work? And then you want to answer that one?
Well, I was going to say, we don't do dual agency here. Right. That's against our rules. If we get you doing that, we're going to have a problem. So we've never allowed that. So let me just kind of, I can see this on the screen here too. So I'm going to read. Let me start at number 1. Who will be monitoring that to ensure this is done up front? Well, number 1, we can't get in the car and ride around with you and make sure it gets done. So it's when the paperwork gets turned in, and I showed you what our compliance standards are going to change May 1. Okay. We're going to look at the dates. If the dates don't match, we're going to go back to you, Tom, and say, Tom, you need to redo one of these. Okay. It's a dead stop on your transaction if they're not correct. So that means your buyer rep agreement must predate the offer date. Okay. Let me say that again. Your buyer rep agreement must be predated to your offer date. Now, what is the audit process for that? It's going to be our compliance first. If there's a complaint, Realtor will request an audit, and under the new rules, they'll have the right to do that. They'll say, send us your buyer rep agreement to make sure that it does match. This does not change state law. It does not change the real estate commission rules. It is a NAR rule agreement to change a rule within a NAR MLS, period. So the regulatory authority, if you will, is on the NAR MLS. And I talked about the open houses. It doesn't apply to open houses, but you have to have a buyer rep agreement signed before you actually show them multiple houses. And we probably will institute a form that is like a first time showing form that is a single page that says, if you decide to buy a house with me, this is what the compensation would be. We don't know what that looks like yet, but that's where we're headed in our minds. And then, okay, if number two is true, I can't represent both sides, and how does that work? Well, again, that's dual agency, and we do not practice dual agency in Tennessee. Or we do not practice it here at Benchmark. It is still legal in Tennessee, but honestly, it's already been outlawed in 13 states, and I expect the legislature to take action on that within the next 24 months to outlaw dual agency in Tennessee. Now, buyer can remain unrepresented. So don't force that issue. And if you have a question on that, consult your principal broker.
Okay, let's move on to Mary Beth. Again, we've got many coming in.
Okay.
Will amendments to the buyer representation agreement, oh my stars, every time someone clicks in, it goes.
Will amendments to
buyer's
buyer representation, be allowed as negotiation or days between seller and buyer?
Yes.
Every agreement can be amended. Every contract can be amended. So yes.
Okay. Sherry wants to know, will there be any changes to the listing agreement in the compensation area?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I mean, right now we got section 6 and section 7, and one says how much you're going to share, and that's going to go away. So, we'll see. Buyers got to update their forms, right?
Will this affect commercial commissions advertised if they are not listed on RealTracs?
Everything we've talked about today is NAR. Everything we've talked about today has to do with RealTracs, and you can't be in RealTracs unless you're a NAR member. Okay, that's their rule, not ours. Their rule. So if it's a commercial deal out here on your own, it's a commercial deal out here on your own. Your attorney writes that contract. Your attorney fills out the form, puts the commission compensation in there, and you negotiate it out just like you always have.
Okay. Can we put on the buyer rep agreement up to 3% if offered by the
No,
okay.
It has to be clear. It has to be specific. It cannot be open-ended at all.
All right. Can the buyer rep be same day? I think you've covered that many, many times today. No. You meet them in the morning, sign it, and show and make an offer the same day. What does that look like?
You would clarify that on the document.
Okay.
As long as you clarify that for our compliance process, we'll put that in our notes in our compliance system, and then you're covered.
Okay. If compensation offered is higher than what is in the buyer rep agreement, what happens to that money? Does
you
it
amend the buyer's rep agreement to match what you got?
Awesome. What if we meet the buyer? Oh, we've already answered that one. Will Benchmark provide support to enforce buyer's rep agreement between Benchmark and buyer if buyer does not perform by paying commission?
Benchmark has always supported. Benchmark does not sue because we are not getting the money. We have no funds to balance against that lawsuit if we launch it. We will support you in pursuing that money, but hear me clearly on this. Our scenario here is changing. This is not broker to broker any longer. This is buyer to buyer's agent. This is your business. We're stepping out. The brokers are stepping out of the middle, and it's seller to buyer, buyer to seller, buyer to buyer's representative. And that changes the whole scenario. So support, yes, we always support. Will we fund a lawsuit? No, not for $438. Hello.
True point. Can you name a couple of the books that you were referring to? And honestly, I think we have it in the last Fridays with Phillip, that list, but what are your top two?
Yeah, I don't have them in front of me. Getting to Yes was one that I remember. They are all listed in that previous Fridays with Phillip. I would recommend you go study that presentation.
Okay. I'm assuming that in the case of your own listing, if an unrepresented buyer asks you to show it, the relationship will still only require the unrepresented buyer documentation. You've already answered that one. Okay, I know some of these scenarios will have to be worked out, but I genuinely grateful for all this information. Great, thank you. Thinking of different ideas, how we can share potential seller compensation for an agent on our listings. Since it can't be on the MLS or on other sites except our own, could we potentially have a link in the MLS under media that goes?
No,
Okay, I
it's
figured that.
specifically excluded. It's specifically excluded in the agreement. You can't link anything. You can't do any of that stuff. Anything that feeds back to an MLS, a NAR MLS supported website cannot be done. And if you try to circumvent that, you're going to raise attention from the attorneys because they are specifically watching for that. That's why I mentioned the closed groups on Facebook, because there is a lot of crap that goes on closed groups on Facebook, and we all know it. That is going to get a lot of people in a lot of trouble. And I'm not going to be part of that, and Benchmark is not going to be part of that. If that happens, buddy, you are on your own, because I'm telling you today to not do it.
How do you feel the lawsuits will affect the VA buyers?
So really you're talking about, direct answer is not at all. Okay. I think where you're going in your mind is trying to have the buyer pay the fee. The seller, if you heard what I said, the seller can still pay the fee, or they can designate a portion of the concessions that they're giving to be done for that in the contract, not on MLS, but in the contract, they can designate that. So from that standpoint, it circumvents the VA rules. Now, will there be some noise? Absolutely, there'll be some noise. The only way for it to truly be fixed is for FHFA, the federal organization that sets the Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac guidelines, to actually change their rules. And until they change their rules, we have to operate with what we have. So negotiating it in the contract, I think, is not going to impact the VA or the FHA buyer at all. But we'll see.
Are there any lobbying efforts being made to change lending guidelines, allowing buyers to finance the cost of the buyer's commission?
There are, yes.
Okay. Can listing agents refuse a listing that doesn't include a buyer's compensation?
That's up to your business. It's your business, okay? So look at the economics of that. Do you think your success rate is higher with another agent being paid or with an agent not being paid? What does your economic success rate look like? If you don't care, we're not going to put a rule on that. We can't put a rule on that, okay? What I'm trying to point out here is there's a lot of brokers that are actually telling their agents, be proactive, go ahead and screw the buyer's agent now, get ahead of the curve. And I'm advocating against that. Sorry, I didn't mean to make you choke your coffee there.
I've heard this.
Yeah, it's about value proposition explanation, and it's critical for you to have that conversation as listing agents with your seller. Critical.
How do you communicate with the buyer's agent the amount of compensation that will be offered? I know that's going to be a learned skill, but that is a question.
Say that again.
How do you communicate with the buyer's agent the amount of commission that will be offered?
Telephone, pick up phone, talk to them.
Yeah.
Right. So listen to what I said earlier, is that you're going to have the compensation, shared compensation field is going to disappear, and you're going to have a concessions field. They've already told me this is what's going to happen. So I'm telling you, they're going to have a concessions field. The concessions field, then it can be used for whatever that buyer wants to use it for. Or you can add additional money when you negotiate in the contract. So the difference is that seller just can't say, you can only use $1,000 of this for your buyer agent. They can't say that. Otherwise, it's all free flow. That makes sense?
Yes. Will there be any benchmark clauses that one can use on the purchase contract, buyer rep, and listing agreements regarding this?
I don't know why it's plain English, why you couldn't write them yourself, but sure.
Okay.
We'll figure something out on that.
The attorney yesterday on RealTrax mentioned an external link going directly to our personal websites with our personal listings. He said there was no problem with that. Is that true?
This is one of the issues I have with the presentation yesterday, because I don't think that's right. I don't think that's right, because I think that would be considered by some sharp attorney as a feed from an MLS site. And I don't know. I'm gonna have to say I'm not sure on that one. We will clarify that as we go through it. But again, until RealTrax announces the change, there is no change. So right now it's a non-issue, and won't be probably until June, July. We'll see. We'll figure that one out.
One more, and I think we're pretty much done here. Once this is in effect and we can no longer see buyer's agent offer comp on the MLS, is it okay to call the seller agent? Yes.
100%.
To ask what is offered if
Yeah.
buyers suggest this. So yes.
You should probably be doing a lot more communicating on telephone anyway.
Exactly.
So yeah, absolutely. Pick up the phone, talk to them. What are you offering on this? What can I get? What's your feelings on this? I see a concession of $1,500. You know, how firm is that? Is that hard? You know, I've got a client over here that's interested. Explain your situation to them and let them explain it to the seller, so that when the offer comes in, it's not just cold. And that's one of my biggest complaints about this industry, is that we show a house and then we just go send the offer, and we don't even tell them it's coming. We don't pick up the phone and talk to them and see what the needs are of the other party. And the number one rule of any negotiation is he who mentions money first loses. So you talk about the needs and satisfying the wants and needs before you ever talk about the money. And you can't do that if you just fly an offer over there. So that's always been a complaint of mine, something that's been stuck in my craw. But I think we're going to have to understand that that's going to become essential going forward in this newish environment. But again, buyer agents can still get paid. Seller agents can still get paid. It's just going to change the format on how you get paid. So
we got the last two, and then we can wrap it up because I know we're hitting the 10:30 mark. If the compensation is now between buyer and seller, not brokerages, will brokers still have to pay agents or title companies at closing?
Well, you know how this works in the state of Tennessee. It's easier to tax one than it is to tax many. So that's not changing. Again, none of this changes state law. And what you're referring to is actually state law on how that works. So it will not, that format will not change.
Okay. Need a clarification on pre-date versus offer date. We do meet and offer same day sometimes. Please answer. Casey Bird would like to know.
Yeah, I think we talked about that. I mean, it can happen.
I think you missed it.
Just put something in there that, you know, hey, we just showed the house this morning, wrote the offer this afternoon, so that our compliance knows, and that anyone, should we get audited, will be able to see those notes, and we'll have that in our file. So communicate that clearly. What we were going to ask you though, is if in absence of those remarks, in absence of those comments, it's going to stop your transaction, because we're going to come back to you and say, hey, you got a problem on this file you need to address. You need to either go redo your buyer rep agreement or redo your offer, because these dates are not matching and they're not correct. Now, to be clear on what pre-date is, so March the 1st is pre-March 28th, right? So that's a pre-date. March 1st is predated March 28th. So it means before. I see that question there a couple of times, so I wanted to clarify that again. So anyway, there you go. What else we got?
Oh, you still okay? I have a list of homes my buyer wants to see, and one of them has a seller that is not offering compensation, and my buyer wants to see that particular home. Can I say to them, if you want to see this home, they are not offering compensation to my company, so you can go ahead and see it for yourself, but I will show you the others.
And Harisha answered that correctly. So this will be in the buyer rep agreement where we mention this, or we have this discussion. And that, I want to emphasize that as strongly as I possibly can. This is why it's essential to have the conversation with your buyer to cover this contingency on the front end of the relationship, not when you're showing a house. If you have to have that conversation when you're showing a house, That means you didn't have it in the beginning and you haven't established the relationship. And that's problematic on many different levels. So as part of your buyer presentation, which I have pounded the table over and over again, you have got to put together your buyer presentation. We've given you one on the agent service, on agent resources. We've given you one in Cloud CMA. We can't do any more than actually do it for you. And we're not doing that because your offering is your offering. But you've got to have that conversation on the front end of the relationship. The last thing you want to do is put your buyer in a situation where they are instructing you to go into the world of steering. And that's where you're going to have a real serious problem if it gets down to that. I can't say that strongly enough. Next.
Well, I was just getting a lot of positive feedback. Thank you. Great information. So, because they kept trickling in, I may have missed something, but I think they're good.
Well, you have on the screen there my QR code with my email contact info. Feel free to drop me a contact. The phone number that's in there is the company phone number, so do not text to that number. Just if you want to talk to me, call me. If you want to email me is always best because I got a few things going on here. So I'll answer you as best I can. There's going to be, and Deb Waters pointed this out very good. There's going to be a real need for a seller net sheet now. You are absolutely right, Deb. And that is one of the most professional statements I've heard all day, is that we have to communicate. We can't just go through this career anymore blindly accepting the way it's always been done and that we'll always get paid, because you're going to get a call one day from the listing broker say, thanks for the offer, but we're not paying any commission. And if you haven't prepared for that, haven't prepared your client for that, it's going to be a problem. You're going to wind up working for free. We've already had those phone calls. It's happening now, even though the changes haven't even taken in effect. So anyway, I appreciate y'all being here today. I really do. I'm very appreciative of your willingness to learn. We still have hundreds of people on the call, and we recorded this, and we will have it posted on the dash along with my slide deck this afternoon. Reach out to us, reach out to your principal broker with any questions, specifics you may have, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, real quick. I apologize if I have missed anybody's questions, because I think this is the largest group of questions we've ever had on this call. So please do what Phillip said, scan the QR code, email him your questions if we didn't get to it. But thank you so much for everything and great feedback we're getting.
All right. All right. Well, thanks for being here, and y'all have a wonderful Easter. He is risen.